This is my mini Surron, also known as a Mototec 48V Pro with Electro & Co.'s ETM kit inside. It is certainly faster, but not as fast as it could be. Also, the range is now from little to none. Well, a 72V could certainly fix that and make it just as powerful as an actual Surron. Time to make this mini Surron actually act like a real Surron, but to catch you up, this has received a lightly used ETM kit from Electro & Co., which I found from a donor bike, which I then gutted, rebuilt that one back to stock, and then sold it for exactly what I had into it, making this kit free $99. Then we dressed it up in Surron drag using Beamer Barnes Surron seat adapter kit and using an actual Surron seat to produce this. The bike is pretty great. Throttle response is smooth and it's fast, much faster than stock and much smoother than my first attempt with a far driver controller. But despite all these upgrades and improved performance, the bike is still rocking its stock 48V battery. And when the bike was fully stocked, the range on this with the 48V battery would be something like 13 miles on the high end if you were going easy on it, down to something like 10 miles if you're going hard on it. But now this bike is fitted with a controller that pulls a lot more amps, and pulling more amperage draws down the voltage quicker, which means the range is reduced to, I don't even know what. Let's find out.
Might as well start with the top speed run. Previously, this was 24 miles an hour with the stock stuff. And it looks like the captured speed on the app here was 37, although I mostly saw like 34, 35. We'll call it 35. We can also kind of highlight the ETM kit a little bit more. And one of the things that I like is the slow speed stuff. I can just barely touch it, and it still gives me some throttle, but not like it's gonna throw me off, and I can do tight little circles there with very minimal effort. You can definitely not do that with the stock controller. Well, it's got off-road tires. Let's do some off-road. You can also see how the controller handles this really steep little bank here. Woo-hoo-hoo! Well, I'm full throttle right now and only going 24 miles an hour, and this is showing 40 volts. So I think I'm nearing the end of this battery's cycle. All right, there we have it. 6.57 miles is what I got out of that.
I guess that's the trade-off for more speed, but that cut the stock mileage of this bike in half, and I don't want to have just half the fun. Well, now that we know what 48 volts will get us, let's see what 72 volts will get us. So this is a 72 volt, 20 amp hour battery from Amorg. I believe Hotpack sells these as well, and this battery pack is capable of 130 amps continuous. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the stock battery's continuous amperage was, but I know for a fact that it's little enough that when I was running the bike with this controller, that it would actually shut itself off a few times because it was drawing too much and getting too hot.
I don't think this battery can handle the controller, honestly. It says you can do 48 volts, but really this is for 72. The output is just too much for this thing. I think it overheats.
Now, you can get this battery from Amorg directly, but they won't actually have this particular battery listed, nor will they have any prices listed. You actually have to contact them first in order to make a purchase. But I actually got mine from the Mototec Electric Dirt Bikes Facebook group. It's just about the only good thing with Facebook these days, but a particular member on there, Kelly Bryant, actually configures these and sells them $550 shipped to anywhere in the lower 48. And as you can see here, these things are shaped in such a way that fitment should be a breeze, but let's see if that's true. First step, of course, the most important when doing anything battery related, disconnect that battery. You can also go ahead and disconnect the charger and actually just remove the charger entirely. We're not gonna be using that one anymore. And then we can take off the battery straps and just pull that battery out of there. Now, before we go slapping the new battery in here, there is one important step that we need to address, and that is the battery connections to the controller here. The stock battery came with different leads. They're XT60s, and they're a lot smaller than the stuff that we're putting in here. So first, I'm actually going to get to the controller a little bit better and actually take off those battery leads so that I can put the new battery leads in that were supplied with the battery. So removing the controller is not necessarily required. You just have to get to this point right here, but it's a little bit easier if it's just out of the bike. And for this one specifically, there's a little plastic cover you can pop off right there, and then these two screws hold in these two leads, positive and negative. So we're just gonna replace those. Well, it looks like I'm coming into a bit of a problem. These battery leads that come with the battery are massive, so much so that it's not actually fitting on the controller. So when you set them up right here where they're supposed to be going, they're actually too wide and too thick to be able to sit flush on these two posts. And because they're not sitting flush on their posts, that means they actually could touch and potentially arc. And we definitely don't want that, because arcing means fire. That's a bad thing. There we go. A little bit thinner sidewall, but the same gauge, of course, so that way these two slot perfectly. Don't want to forget this little power lead for the controller itself, but that will vary, of course, if you have a different controller. So now that we finally got those battery leads together, everything else is in its place. Controller is all secured. Now it's time for the fun part, battery install. And I'm hoping this is actually a pretty nice fit because this battery pack is supposed to be specifically designed for the Mototec. It's got this little cutout right here to be in line with the frame, but at the same time, I know that some people will have to bend or even break tabs, these two tabs right here in particular that hold the plastic pieces on either side. Even just an inch or so in added length to the battery is gonna make it that much harder to actually get it in here. But first I'm gonna try just putting the battery in as is. Hopefully I don't need to do anything with these tabs. I needed to do something about those tabs. So last night off camera, I cut all 4 of the tabs off, and as an added bonus, I shaved them down and gave them a bit of paint so it's like they were never there. And this is perfectly fine because the plastic panels that go on either side are held in with these 2 rubber mounts, so you don't even need any of those bolts anyway. Let's try this again. Wow, that fits perfectly. It goes right in between the frame and very little movement forwards and backwards. With the battery straps, this is not gonna go anywhere. Now this bike is producing an impressive 5,700 watts. With the stock battery and the controller in this, it was producing 3,600 watts. And remember, when this bike was 100% stock, as I bought it, it was producing 1,600 watts. That means the power now is more than triple. Let's hit the dirt. Whoa, that acceleration is instant. Already we're beating the top speed, 37, 38, 40. Wow, this acceleration and speed is just so much that I'm actually a little terrified because of the brakes. These are just mountain bike brakes, and when you're going nearly 50 miles an hour, it's not really gonna stop you in time. This is how great the acceleration is. I'm going 43 miles an hour, and it's uphill. It's not like it's even sweating the incline. It's just going. Look at that, 44 now. Oh no, my phone. Oh my God, I caught it. Yes, this is scary fast, but I don't think it's too much, even though this is a very small and quite frankly, light frame. I do still like that there's added power. I can just cruise like I'm doing right now at like half throttle, and then if I really want to give it some extra, I can do that. With the 48 volt, I basically just had to have full throttle all the time if I wanted any kind of power to get me up into the 30 mile an hour range. This leaves a little bit something extra in the chamber. So when you find a straight and you really want to give it a whack, you can do it. Just provided, of course, you have enough runway to slow down. And since we're on the exact same road that I used when I put in the controller originally, even though it's not as washboard, we can still kind of test out the suspension that I've done since then. And I gotta say, it feels so much more stable with the fork mod in the front and the Grom shock in the rear. Now this road is definitely not as washboard as it was, but as you can tell, I'm just gliding over it. Maybe it's the added speed too. This is so much fun. Ooh, a little jump. I'm probably not going to do a full range test on this right now, maybe in a later bit, but right now I'm at 6.5 miles. That already beats what it was with the stock battery. Power, check. Speed, check. Range, unknown, but more than what we had previously, so tentative, check. I did not think that just a battery would be the missing piece of the puzzle, but dare I say it, this bike is as built as I need it to be. It not only has the power, but it's got the suspension, it's got the seat, the comfort. Oh, it's almost perfect. And while the 48 volt, although technically I guess now it's a 72 volt, may be perfect, the 60 volt on the other hand has some room to grow and room for its own 72 volt.